dropping in a second.
16 hours.
But but first, Lagos. There's a tweet from Sheon Smith. He tweets about economic matters and so on. Let me read this to you folks. Let me ask you. I think this is a three-pronged question for our listeners. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He says, in a few weeks, it will be a year since the last unemployment labor force statistics were released. I repeat, in a few weeks, it will be 1 year since the last unemployment labor force statistics were released. The figures as of the third quarter, let me finish this tweet. He says, country so broke that a few billion naira can't be found for MBS to measure this. Where are the numbers? It was as of our unemployment figures were as of the last figures that were given, 23.1%, were as of the third quarter of 2018. Over 1 year, we have no idea where these figures are. So number one, where are the figures? Number two, has unemployment risen or dropped since then? And number three, how do we improve it? Right? So firstly, where's the numbers? There's been no question. In fact, look, if we even have a story here. Where's that second story? Vice President Osibanjo was in, I believe it was Ogun State. He went to go lay the foundation for a Kajola rail wagon assembly plant. Yeah, and he says he's going to create 5,000 jobs. Which is great. Yes, which is good. He's all over the country talking about job growth. But sir, where are the unemployment figures for the past year?
Let's look at a few benefits of numbers. Having numbers saves you money. It helps you plan.
Of course it does.
At least it puts your plan in perspective. You know the size of workforce you need. You know the budget that you would implement. You know how many people you employ.
Exactly.
You know how much money you would you need to put in that business. But when you don't have accurate numbers, you just make plans in the air. You estimate values. Bro.
Look. There's a lot of people read Naira Life, yeah? Hashtag Naira Life on Twitter. The latest episode on Zikoko, they've been releasing this really nice series where they talk to everyday Nigerians about Naira and Kobo issues. This latest episode is about a lady, she's 28 years old, was making 150,000 a year. She's been applying for a master's degree program. Every time she got admitted, she didn't have the money for it, couldn't find a job here. So then one day, I think after not having light for like 1 week, she said she heard people cheering up NEPA, something snapped. She decided to move to Canada with her husband. They got together, they applied together, they left. But jobs was one of the reasons why they left, right? One of the reasons why people keep getting up and leaving the country is for a better life, because there are no unemployment, there's no employment outlook for them. One of the reasons why we have high crime, that you're talking about planning here, is because there's so many idle youth that can't seem to find anything for themselves. So look, jobs is one of the highest priorities of any government.
Yes.
And today is November the 12th. We are 1 year from not having any figures. South Africa's figures came out not too long ago. Everybody's lamenting how South Africa has some of the really high unemployment. I think South Africa's is 27.9. For South Africa's unemployment rate is almost at 30%, right? So where is Nigeria's? And that's a population of 50, I think South Africa's population is about 55 million. I can't remember what their labor force figures are, but our labor force alone is higher than South Africa's entire population. I feel like labor force is about 60-something million people. So
listen to what Modupe Sanders says on YouTube. She said they have the money. They're just not interested in sharing those numbers.
Well, that's an answer to the question. That's a possible answer to the question as to why we don't have those figures. I mean, 1 year. 1 year, we're still, so we don't have fourth quarter 2018, we don't have first quarter 2019, we don't have second quarter. We already have second quarter GDP figures. We're waiting for third quarter GDP figures. The Bureau of Statistics releases inflation every single month. We know where that is going. I think it's at 11.22 or something like that. We know inflation jumped when the borders were closed. But what about unemployment? How
do you know that you're addressing all these issues? They talk about this social intervention programs.
Right.
Talk about the effect. How do you now scale the effect?
The
social on the workforce.
Social intervention programs do nothing for employment. Nothing. All you're doing is just handing money to somebody and saying, "Take, go and buy food to eat." That's all it is. It doesn't. Wait, look. How do you get the what's her name? The Ninja flying doctor. I think she calls herself. Her Twitter handle is roadside economist or something. It's pretty funny. She tweeted a video 2 days ago. I'll share it on Twitter about how you address unemployment and job growth, you need to train your workforce. So you need to put, how much are we giving to education? What's in the education budget?
I think it's about 40.
It's like 1/3 or if nothing compared to what we pay for subsidies. You need to train. Okay, I see messages on WhatsApp. I'm ranting too much. Let's read messages.
Randolph says, "Hi guys, I usually have the start of the new work week anxiety, and usually the day before any work week I can't sleep. Happened yesterday. Didn't sleep until around 4. Is there something I can do about this?"
Randolph, you need to be happy that you are employed. Okay, be happy you are employed because it's not easy out in the streets.
Statistics will only back up the facts when that employment has increased. Are we not supposed to have a census this year?
Thank you, Wito. So wait, again, ladies and gentlemen, our unemployment figures as of third quarter 2018 is 23.1%. I think the last figures are about officially 20 million Nigerians are out of work. By how much do you think unemployment has grown between the third quarter of 2018 and where we are now? Are we at 25%? Are we at 30%? Are we at 35%? Yo, man.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Wale, they're reliable. Wale, check them out. They are good. I see he's asking about Wealth NG. Wealth NG is not bad. Check them out.
Sheil says, we can't get the figures now. Since there's been audio jobs being created, we've been getting promises of millions of jobs for how long now? Not them. That's what Sheil says. Yinka says, sometime around 2015, 2016, the Ghanaian representative in Nigeria...
You said Ghanaian. It's Canadian.
Canadian.
It rhymes. Nice one. That's a nice rhyme.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Canadian rep in Nigeria met with the vice president and said that Canada is looking at taking in about 300,000 migrants.
True.
Now, I'm sure some Nigerians would have leapt for joy, but I wonder if the vice president understood that statement. I wish the NBS can release stats on the age range of Nigerians escaping to Canada. My wife is fighting me now, saying, "Guy, let's move."
And I don't blame his wife. Meanwhile, what's the Ministry of Labor? What Minister of Labor and Employment and what are they doing? What's going on? We are putting so much. We're talking about MBS. What does the Ministry of Labor do?
He's sorting out labor issues.
That's so.
NLC and Co.
Okay.
Prince says, Rotus, your analysis on NSIP is very wrong. Go to the rural areas and see how N teachers are bridging the gap.
Prince, you're talking about Empower now. That's a separate issue from social intervention where you're handing out money. They're handing out money to people. Yeah, that's different. The Empower programs, those are specifically referencing training people and then putting them in particular sectors of the economy to be productive. But Prince, most of those, the outcome of those programs is that they don't have places to place them, right? They don't have. So that's a separate one. The Empower program, I get that. That is what we should be doing on a larger scale. But where is the money to increase it? As far as just handing out money, that doesn't help our employment.
Mani has a cynical approach to this. He said they're not providing the numbers because it does not correlate to their propaganda. Nigerians have lost jobs since 2005
again
than ever.
I mean, who wants to guess? I repeat, 20 million Nigerians unemployed as of the third quarter of 2018. What are those numbers now today? Who wants to take a guess? Who? Yeah.
Adinka thinks, I guess he's a guess. He says, you're very unfair. You want them to bring out such data of unemployment after all the story and propaganda and the millions of jobs are created? How about? Not so now. It doesn't work that way.
But what is the central piece of any economy? It is creating jobs and putting people to work. I don't know what else you want to talk about. Let's look at this thing here. Kajola Rail Wagon Assembly Plant is going to create 5,000 jobs. Osibanjo. He's telling you about job growth. Meanwhile, you don't know where your numbers are in Nigeria, and he's telling you about creating more jobs.
Musa Sunday says unemployment. Well, the politicians have all planted their children with lots of jobs and it's been going on for so long. Where's the hope for the common man? They go abroad to school, and as soon as they're back, they're fixed in federal ministries. We are watching. Lab says, please repeat the Naira Twitter handle.
Oh, there's Naira Life. Hashtag Naira Life. Just read it. It's a very good series.
Isaac says he's guessing 50 million.
Whoa, okay, that's high. That's really high.
The Minister of Labor that said we have enough doctors and doctors can relocate to other countries so they can send foreign exchange back to the country.
He did say that. He did.
Darlington from Apapa said the unemployment figures are surging and the borders are still shut for smuggling. Well, social intervention he thinks it's a scam. But what do I know? There's rice in Kano for 30 naira. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yinka says, wow, the age range of Nigerians running to Canada are the age range of that needed to make the economy work. It started with doctors leaving and nothing was done. In my hospital alone, 4 doctors have left to Canada and 2 for the US. we have no idea the kind of harm we're doing to ourselves.
That's very true. And why are they leaving? Again, they are leaving for a better future. As they say, people are voting with their feet. WinBiz, yeah, women in business.
Yes.
They had a fantastic conference. I think it was over the weekend or so.
Last week, yes.
Yeah, last week. On this very issue, I tweeted it yesterday. You guys can check out the link. They had a debate. So what they did is they took 4 professional women. 2 were on one side. So the debate question was Nigeria to stay or leave. So they had 2 women on one side who were arguing for Nigerians to stay in Nigeria, and then 2 women on the other side who were arguing that people should just get up and bounce. So the 2 women who were arguing for staying in Nigeria, in fact, all 4 women made very good points. The 2 who were then, they were like, look, if all of you get up and leave for Canada and you all leave for the US and Australia, who is going to remain here to rebuild Nigeria? You can't all start getting up and start leaving. Somebody has to stay here and somebody has to shout when it's no unemployment figure. Somebody has to put the government on notice and so on and so forth. We have to stay here and do something. And we gave them points. The other 2 now got up and said, well, okay, yes, fine. You have to stay here and rebuild Nigeria. But in order for you to rebuild Nigeria, you yourself have to be above water. You have to be surviving. You have to be in a position where you actually are able-bodied enough to want to push for a better Nigeria. And with where things are now, you can't do that. So you have to get up and leave and go for a better life. And as Yinka put in his tweet, with the Canadians who are seeking skilled employment, this is the crazy thing. They are seeking skilled people, and that is what Nigerians are. We are incredibly skilled, some of the best doctors in the world. And so are now applying it elsewhere, rebuilding their economies.
One of the major reasons because their system works.
Exactly.
They have a strong base that's ready to receive all these skills. Maduka Sanders says people leave for Canada for other reasons than jobs. All the people I know left, all the people that I know that left, 8 of them had good jobs. The sad thing about those unemployment figures is that it's 23% of people who are willing and able to work. It does not capture housewives and invalids, for instance.
That's another good point.
The argument of who is going to stay here, she thinks is lame. My priority is not to rebuild Nigeria. I need to survive first, which is what you just pointed out.
Can you blame such a point?
Nope.
I can't blame such a point.
You have to be able to swim and stay above water
before you can do that. Oh boy.
Silver says now themselves in the fruit and let you know they've been lying about job creation. Come on.
As well as that from Victor, yeah. No, but see, it's another thing, eh? Yeah. We need to put pressure on them to bring out these numbers. We have to. I can't just sit here and lament about it on air. We actually actively have to go out and say, hey, please, can we have these figures? Can we know where we are? Look, another simple measure of this thing. How many more people do you see begging on the streets when you drive in? That figure, I've seen more and more. And I don't know if they're from Niger or Chad or they're actual Nigerians, but more, like even here at Adeola Odeku, where Adeola Odeku meets Aki Adeshola, they've been growing. Yeah. So you're seeing more people. So that even with your own eyes, with just anecdotal evidence, without even studying this thing, you can see poverty increasing right before your very eyes. And that's them who are beggars, not to talk of people who have lost jobs and who haven't found any. NYSC coppers that are coming out of the system and still haven't found anything over 1 year. It's not pretty.
Prince says, how many people have left for Canada? According to statistics online, less than 10,000. Isaac says, for us to rebuild Nigeria, we need to have a platform. But if I'm not surviving here in Nigeria, how can I build the country?
Exactly.
We're skilled because the systems make us suffer to the point of desperation.
Oh boy.
Ugo says, I'm able to get my visa. If approved, I'm out of here.
Wow.
Those that stay back to repair Nigeria, ask the Sahara Reporters guy. That's tried. Where is he? Yinka says, I argued with my colleagues that in a way the educated fraction of us, of Nigeria, puts us in this mess. When you leave factory workers in charge of NLC, what do you expect them to argue other than 30,000 naira minimum wage? But the federal government knows if the educated fraction stays there, they will be called to order to close the border on rice and even open the border to Canada. Interesting ideas, but no, NLC workers, not factory workers, please. Oluwatade Samuel Ayerinde says, I believe we're still under, no. I do not like.
Oh, he's talking about military rule.
Nah.
Don't bring that back here, Lord.
Harry says, I work in an oil company. I have few friends. 8 people I know have left for Canada in the last year. They are taking pay cuts. It's not about jobs.
Henry, thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot to address that. Dolapo Oni, he used to be a guest on this show.
I remember him.
Head of the energy desk at EcoBank. This is a guy that was getting paid pretty well. He was on, he's on TV all the time talking about oil and gas. He left. him, he's only got one child. Him, his wife, they packed up and left. And so, with Henry's point, I totally forgot to address that. Even with people that are employed, there's some of them that are saying, okay, look, I'm thinking about the future of my children and everything.
Exactly.
And then
therein lies your answer.
Yeah.
Because really, they are thinking about the future of their children, thinking about protecting their interests,
Right.
make sure that they go to an environment where their children have the assurance of a great future.
Exactly.
Good education, good jobs, a system that protects them.
Right.
Because I mean, people. I read a piece yesterday off Twitter. It was actually an article that's published on Premium Times, one episode like that.
Yeah.
Where somebody was talking about how, reflecting on past experiences, how we grew up,
Mhm.
we didn't really need to bother much. We only focused on school,
Right.
television shows and things like that. And our parents were living a great life.
Right.
And then we are so anxious to become adults, and now we're adults. Now we have more
issues
to,
to face than they did.
Exactly. You're driving on the streets, you're worried that maybe if you drive beyond 7, 8 p.m.,
Right.
you're going to be harassed on 3rd Mainland Bridge or something by robbers on the streets. Things like this we shouldn't worry about if the government provides proper security.
Oh,
well, what's we keep talking about this. Eli from Akoka says the aspiration of Andrews.
I just learned that Andrews thing yesterday.
Someone at the villa told me Jack Ma is coming to Abuja on Thursday.
Hey, gosh, I totally forgot. I said I was going to address those numbers. What data? We just got all carried away with unemployment. Anyway, no, really quickly, at your news brief you just gave, you mentioned how much the Singles Day sale recorded with Alibaba, yeah?
Yes.
Valentine, how many years now have we been doing Black Friday with our own e-commerce giants? We have not once
close to 5 years now
gotten. Have you ever read a headline where it says,
No.
I mean, if you're trying to promote Black Friday in Nigeria and you're trying to promote sales, bring out these figures and tell us how much you're selling
and
now.
guess what? These guys do a pretty good job with marketing.
Yes, they're very good at marketing, but at least every time it's always foreign news. Alibaba sold this, Amazon sold this.
Listen,
they're retail.
Alibaba's single sale.
Yes,
the shopping frenzy, the 11th year.
Yeah,
its 11th year. $30.8 billion in 16.5 hours of trading.
And what? So what again? This is the data thing again. My own issue is where are our own e-commerce people to promote what they're doing? Bring out a headline that says Nigerians spent maybe this.
Those figures. Then it's going to be a tax on e-commerce next year.
Well, at least you tell us now. Tell us. We can't keep all this foreign news. We can't keep. Good. I'm happy for Alibaba, but how much did Nigeria spend on Black Friday in 2016? How much did they spend on Black Friday in 2017 online? How much are you expecting them to spend? Those are the kind of things you can use to hype up Black Friday, but no figures. So no data on unemployment, no data on Black Friday. On the census, I don't know how many people we are. No data on how many people. It's just a big data hole, man.
Please add your names to your messages.
Seni, I'm upset. I am laughing. You need to. Seni, you need to be upset as well, man.
You're powering from Rotus this morning.
No, it's come on. We're feeling away in the dark here.
So Dolakpo have done jackpot.
Yeah, Dolakpo left over a year ago.
I love your messages. Ahmed from Agbara says, and these names are intact always. No suspension.
Oh, boy.
Darlington says, Dolakpo, thank you, has left Nigeria. Wow,
yes.
I give up. It's really deep.
He left, Darlington. He left.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Rotus. We're done, though.
We're done?
Yeah. Let's continue this conversation with Rotus with the hashtag Business Express 91. Tweet at Rotus at Rotanquote. It's ROTANKWOT. This is Smooth Breakfast. Stay with us.
Did you say